Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns. They are in the playoffs. I'm really excited about it. I know you probably don't care, so I'm going to figure out how to make that relevant to you, and I think the way to do that is to talk about choking, because if there's something I, as a Browns fan, know a lot about, have intimate knowledge with, it is choking. I know I've talked about this before on this channel. I made a tweet that said something to the effect of, I'd rather have you drop the game-winning pass, or I think miss the game-winning field goal is a better example for this, a better concrete for this. I'd rather have you miss the game-winning field goal and work on whatever issues came up for you if you did miss the field goal than to make the field goal and be whatever the star of the game, the MVP. And of course, the response to this is the classic. I mean, it's the meme, right? So what you're saying is you want me to miss the field goal and be a loser. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I know that if you are able to miss the field goal, you're going to miss a clutch field goal at some point if you're a kicker. If you're able to miss the field goal and work through those issues that came up for you, oh, I'm a loser, I'm not good enough, all that stuff, figure out where it comes from, then you will be way more likely to go on and make more field goals in more high-pressure clutch situations in the future. So that's what I want for you, and this goes to the nature of choking. It harkens back a little to what very clever visual aid I had last week. The balance board, or it's a seesaw, right? You have awareness over here, you have development over here, and I think a lot of people get into problems in their self-development, you could say, is because they're just focused on the development. They're stacking development blocks over here, and they get imbalanced without enough awareness. And this is the example of the guy who, classic for New Year's resolutions. He goes to the gym for about 6 weeks, and he has this protocol, and he sticks to, and he loses weight, and he sees progress, but he can't be consistent with it, right? That is classic. Trying to stack too much development blocks, not enough awareness blocks to complement. Last week I said compensate. I've been kicking myself for that. To complement the development, and I think that's how it works with choking. So I'm just going to take this diagram and make it. Let's make it 3D. You guys know that game Topple? There's a board like this, and it balanced on a post like this, right? And the players would come in and stack pieces on the board, and whoever stacked the last piece and caused the board to tip over, made the board topple, he lost, right? And this is how I think of clutch situations. So you have different areas of your life. You have let's say work here, you have friends and family here, you have health here, and then you'd have sports. Right? And what a high-pressure situation does is it's an external pressure. It comes and it places the finger on the board, and it places the finger on everybody's board, but some people are so imbalanced or don't have enough chips stacked that the finger makes the board topple over, and that's when you drop the pass, or I think missing the field goal is a better concrete example of this. So that's what happens. So, and this is exactly why Cleveland sports teams are the way that they are. There was a time, there's this great 30 for 30 documentary, Believeland, which I watched on the plane, which kind of made me think of this. For a long time in the 40s and 50s and 60s, the Browns did really well. The Browns did really well. The Cleveland sports teams did well because Cleveland was doing well as a city. Cleveland was growing. It was an economic boom town. But into then the economy shifted away from manufacturing, as it did for everybody, and Cleveland did not shift. Cleveland classic did not pivot, would just complain. Classic Cleveland. And then you started to feel the effect on the sports teams, because now there was more pressure on sports in the city to make the city feel okay, right? So then we had the 3 eponymous plays, I guess you could say, in the 80s. Well, first there was the shot when Michael Jordan made that game-winning shot to go into the NBA Finals over Craig Elo. And there was the drive in the AFC Championship game. John Elway and the Denver Broncos, game-winning drive against the Browns. We lost, didn't go to the Super Bowl. And then in another AFC Championship game, Ernest Biner, the fumbled the ball right as he was about to score the touchdown. He fumbled the ball, and we did not go to the Super Bowl again. And this is the problem with Cleveland. And while Cleveland's in the playoffs, I'm really excited. We're probably going to choke again. I could see there being another eponymous play. The sack, Joe Flacco gets sacked in a possible walk-off situation. I could see it because Cleveland has not handled the issues that lead to its poor sports franchise performance. Ernest Biner comes on that 30 for 30 documentary, and he's still in tears. He's still in tears because he thinks that he's the one who fumbled the ball. And while he is the one who was at the end result of that play, the way Cleveland needs to see that to work through their issue is to see how that play and the fumble was in fact orchestrated by Cleveland. It was orchestrated by everybody in the city. It was orchestrated by, at that point, I think it was 1987, the AFC Championship game, by 3 decades of economic downturn and failure. Put too much pressure on that situation. Yeah, he's going to fumble the ball. Anybody would. Right? It's not about it. That's just the appearance, right? There's stuff going on beneath the surface, and if you really want to get at this stuff and balance yourself out, you got to see how everything's connected. So yeah, we're going to the playoffs. If we do well as a sports town, it's only because we get lucky. Like we got LeBron. Like he was basically a Cleveland kid, so he wanted to play for the Cavs. We may get lucky this year in the playoffs. I don't know. I mean, the AFC is not doing too well. We can somehow beat the Ravens. Nobody knows why, but we can. So I don't know. It might work out, but also I could see another eponymous play, the sack. Joe Flacco's knee turns backwards or something. So how to be clutch? How do you be clutch? Well, it comes down to this balance thing, and we have these variables, And by the way, this isn't time you spend with friends and family necessarily. It's just quality time. Right? It's not like you need to spend equal amount of time. It's just quality. So it's about balance. These are the different variables. There's another variable here, though, right? And that is where you can kind of fix the game. And I think fixing the topple game, that would be cheating, I guess. But there's a way to fix the game if we're going to carry this analogy over to your life, and that is to look at this variable here, the surface area at which the board bounces on the post. How do we increase this? I mean, so how guys overcome panic attacks? Common advice for panic attacks is, when you feel one to start to come on, do these breathing techniques, say these affirmations, put your head in cold water. There's all this physiological stuff you can do, and I think that works. But ultimately, when guys really work through their panic attacks, is they start to have a panic attack maybe, or they feel one begin to come on, and then they realize, this sounds stupid, but they realize that they don't need to have one. That they're in fact okay. And with enough therapy, when you engage in therapy in the right way, this may sound weird, but effectively what happens, what you do is you go into your brain and you find the switch that is the fundamental belief of psychological health, which is, it's not I'm a badass, I'm better than everybody else. That's not psychological health, that's compensation. Always. The fundamental belief of psychological health is I have the right to exist. And when you engage in therapy in the right way and the proper way, based on what your psychology is and what your emotions must necessarily be, then you can go in your brain, and it's not really a switch, it's more of a volume knob. And you just turn that volume knob a little bit more. And this, I would argue, if the analogy carries over, I know there's like 10 different analogies here, but this increases the surface area of the post on the board. So it pretty much it doesn't matter where you press. This contact point is so large, and you have so many chips stacked, not just in sports but in every other area, just to make the board heavy, that nothing's going to tip it over. And it's a volume knob, right? But after you get to 5 or 6, the switch turns on and you're fine. You're like, wait, why am I having a panic attack? This is silly. I'm fine. That's how you get over panic attacks. And it's the same thing with clutching, right? You just got to engage in therapy. Yeah, the same thing with being clutch. You got to engage in therapy, right? And I can't show you how to I can't give you this belief that you have the right to exist. Yeah, maybe I'm going to put that in there, right? This is, I have the right to exist. That's that variable there. And I can't give that to you. I can't give this belief to you. You're not going to give it to yourself through affirmations, right? And the way that people think that they're going to overcome these or be clutch is to visualize. Yeah, that's going to help. But look, I mean, if you think you're an idiot, it doesn't matter how much you visualize. If you think you're an idiot, it doesn't matter how much you affirm that you have the right to exist. You're an idiot. I can't give you that, but what I can do is I can, put you in a process as I talk about. There's step 1, maybe there's step 7. It really depends on the person. But generally, there's this process that we all go through. And the more you go through this process, you just add a little bit more surface area here. And of course, you're more likely to stack chips too. It's not like you just do one at a time. And it's an iteration. So you take this, and then you put it in another as the input of another process, and you just go through. And you don't need me to. If you want to work with me, I'll take you through this process. So then you can go out and go through the process on your own. You can keep doing it with me or with somebody else, or just in your own way. But I want to show you this process so you can, continue to make your board as stable as possible. So that's what I can help you with here. We do free consultations. Joinanimus.com/schedule. Thank you guys, and remember that if you miss the kick, if you miss the game-winning kick. No, unless you miss the game-winning kick once in a while, you may in fact miss out on your life. And go Browns.